What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Early Edge. Hello to Mark Buckholtz, Ed Anarumo, Paul Shabbat, Judah Baker, and of course, Eric David, who says, good morning, everyone. Smash the like button. Please do that. We got a great show for you today. We got some afternoon baseball. We got some evening baseball. We got NBA to talk about, NHL playoffs. Before we do any of that, let's take a look at how we did yesterday. A few too many X's. That's in part thanks to me, Kyle Gibson. Wow. Pitching basically a no-hitter into the fifth inning. Reds first five money line loses, but Prop Stars picks us up. Zach Simony, Timberwolves +2, that picks us up. We'll say, listen, 3 and 4 is not a good day. We got to at least flip that around. We're going to do that today. But before I introduce the stars of the show, I want to remind everybody, the Early Wedge recorded last night. It's in your feed. You're not going to want to miss that with me, Patrick McDonald, and Eric Cohen. We covered all angles of the RBC Canadian Open. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we want to have a back bounce Wednesday, I asked Jake the Snake, there's only one way we can do it, and we'll introduce the stars of the show right now because, of course, if we're going to have a bounce back Wednesday, it's going to be with Mike McClure, Maestro, and that's it. I also asked for Tim Doyle, but not in the same vein. Tim, of course, I'm kidding. You're wearing the shades. You got the hammer. You must be excited about your picks today.
You know, when I come on this show, I basically consider myself Mike McClure Jr. Because I haven't been charting my percentages like you guys, you nerds, but I think it's over 50% on the Sia. I know you do the recap. I don't tune in that day the next day because I know it's just win, win, win. I got a baseball parlay today. That's right, baseball. And then I got your game 5 winner in the NBA.
Yeah, no, listen, Tim, when you're not on the show, we always refer to you as Mike McClure Jr. I'm surprised you hadn't already heard that. It's good stuff, man. We'd love to have you, of course. Maestro, I want to actually kick this around to you, Mike, and Tim Doyle, because Minnesota, and not super surprising, they came back and won yesterday, certainly covered the spread. Props to Zach Simony there with the outright win. Your reaction to yesterday's game, I mean, my take here is, listen, they win at home, and then all of a sudden game 6 feels like a game 7 in terms of the pressure being applied back to the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe I'm overstating it. What's your outlook for the rest of the series?
Well, they've led every game late, and they just haven't been able to close. Yesterday, they did close it out. It's been 155 times the team has taken a 3-0 lead. Only 15 times has a team won 2 games down in that situation. I think the Timberwolves obviously have a great shot at home. This is a different kind of series because they're equal, if not better, than Dallas. Kind of like last year when Boston came back and almost won that series. Just as a guy who plays rec league basketball and talks to the ref too much, even I cannot stand watching Luka Doncic in this series. I just can't take it anymore.
I got to be honest with you, Mike, and I'm going to kick this to you in a second, but Larry, I'm glad you brought that up. I can't think of a more annoying thing that I've watched across all of sports. Listen, we watch sports every single day. There's a lot of guys that are annoying, and let's be honest, Luka's like absolutely a superstar, but I almost feel like old man, like get off my lawn guy. Like I'm just so annoyed with it, like this stuff that the kids do. But like, I cannot express to you how annoyed I am at that. And if I was neutral on this series in terms of taking one team versus the other, I'd be on Minnesota at this point because Luka's just complaining about every single thing. Anyway, sorry for that diatribe, for that rant. Mike, I don't know if you have a reaction to that, but your reaction to perhaps how you think this series is going to go, whether it be the next game or potentially the next 3.
I definitely think Minnesota gets the next one. As far as winning 4 in a row, it's still a very difficult task, but I think the longer Dallas plays without Derek Lively, the better the adjustments will get. They certainly missed him and probably will miss him again on the road. And it really comes down to they continue to get good stuff out of Derek Jones. I mean, a lot of teams passed on Derek Jones, could have had him on the roster as well. So it's really impressive to see what Dallas has done this season. Obviously, it's easy to have a decent team whenever you've got Luka and Kyrie on the floor, but they've done a great job with some of those role players. I think it's going to be another competitive one. I'm glad Minnesota won because this series is really fun to watch, despite to watch Luka cry for a foul every possession.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA certainly needed this team to extend after what and let's be honest, the Celtics-Indiana series, it became a little bit more exciting than we anticipated. Larry, I got to hand it to you. Tim, before I kick this to you, of course, I won the showdown against you because you had the Pacers plus 2.5. But I'll be honest, I think you were on the right side of that bet. I think you got a little unlucky in game one. I mean, I don't know what the Pacers were doing at the end of the game. Obviously, Halliburton getting injured. It looked like the Pacers probably should have won a couple games. Your reaction before I kick it to Tim?
Well, I can't believe you brought it up again. I was just moving past it, and then you have to open old wounds. But yeah, I mean, yeah, they were right there. But then again, you could say that about a lot of teams. You got to close.
Yeah,
it's a 48-minute game.
Tim Doyle, it is a 48-minute game. And listen, the Dallas Mavericks have proven to be the better closers of the two teams. What are you thinking in terms of perhaps next game or just the rest of this series?
Yeah, next game, I love the Timberwolves. Do you remember when Denver had a 3-2 lead? They went to Minnesota and they lost by like 1,000 points. Yeah. So I could kind of see that happening again. As far as the referees, I was an all Big Ten basketball player. Okay. Honorable mention, but I leave that part out. Honorable mention, it's like in parentheses, but I leave that out, McClure. I was always very kind to the refs, right? Think about it. If you're yelling at a ref the entire game, do you think he's like, you want to know something? You're right. I'm an idiot. You're the smart one. Like, you got to pick your spots with that. And I think Luka is losing credibility with them. Now, I will say this. We played at Ohio State my senior year. My buddy was the goaltender for the Columbus Crew. So he picks me up around noon after shoot around. He's like, you want to go get a beer? I go, no, I have a game later today. I can't have a beer. I go, but I'll go out to the track because I'm a horse racing guy. So we go out to Beulah Park. Live racing, by the way, the Beulah twins, if you know, okay? So there's like 6 people there. There's a woman who has like a goiter on her neck. I remember that vividly. And I walk in and a guy goes, hey, Doyle, what are you doing here? It's the ref for that night's game, okay? Wow. So he sits with me for like 3 or 4 hours. We're betting Beulah. We got Gulfstream going and stuff. So we're not really talking hoops. So last day kind of wraps up, and I got to go back for a pregame meal. He goes, how does it look tonight? I said, not good. I go, they're number 1 in the country. We're not very good. He goes, well, I'll see if I can keep it close. The game opens up. We're down like, I don't know, 10-2, 14-4. Like the game's already over in the first. So I'm like, screw this. I'm just going to start driving. So I start driving. Odin's blocking the shot off my head. Conley's stealing the ball from me. So we lose by 40 points. Guys, I don't shoot any free throws, right? So I'm walking off the court, and I go, hey, Billy, what the hell was that all about? He goes, you guys had no chance anyway. And I was like, I thought we had the connection, the racetrack thing, no? So, anyway, be nice to referees. It helps you in the long run.
Well, you just proved that it doesn't help you in the long run. And also, I counted 14 NCAA violations. So before we all get a bunch of phone calls, we are going to move on. Mike McClure, let's get to some official picks. We've got day baseball. We got evening baseball. You got a baseball pick. What is it?
I'm back in the Houston Astros here today, Sia. Put them at even money plus 100. You can still find that price point one place in the market, but mostly going to settle around minus 105, minus 110. I still like it, though. I have them winning 54%, which means we should see this money line at minus 117. I want to bet on the park shift for Verlander being a great thing. If you watched the game last night, Hunter Brown, who had really, really struggled this season, pitched so well. They just simply pulled him too early. This park shift, this place to pitch is by far the best in Major League Baseball this season. I think it's going to be a great thing for Verlander facing this Mariners team that strikes out more than anyone against right-handed pitching. I think he's going to have a nice quality start, a nice deep outing. But then George Kirby, I think he's literally priced like an ace here in this matchup. And while he is a top-tier starting pitcher, I don't believe that he is a true ace right now. Has really struggled over the last month of the season, and I expect that to continue against Houston. Houston is the most difficult lineup to strike out in Major League Baseball. They're coming off of a loss last night where the bullpen blew the game for them. I think this is a great spot to back them. Again, expecting a big night from Justin Verlander and just a few runs from the Astros may be all it takes here. I'll play them on the money line.
All right, and that game is the last of the lot today. We've got a lot of games, but that one's at 9:40, so we get to stay up late and sweat something. I'll tell you right now, I love sweating like late-night baseball. I love live betting late-night baseball. That's a story for another day. Speaking of stories, Tim, there's a request from Aaron Bailey in the chat. And by the way, Aaron Bailey, I forgot to mention, because I know it was your birthday just, I think, on Monday, on Memorial Day, and I failed to mention that it was your birthday. So everybody in the chat, say happy birthday, Aaron Bailey. Thank you for putting that in the chat. Sorry for forgetting. Tim Doyle. Aaron says you should tell a story every Wednesday. Are you up for it?
A lot of them are going to go off the rails. Okay. But, and I may lose my job, Aaron, but yes, that is my Beulah Park story. Rest in peace, Beulah Park, no longer there. And they hired the Beulah twins that Larry, I don't know. I used to watch them on the simulcast feed. They were two blondes, very attractive. Did not age well. I'll just throw it out there, okay? Sia, not like our wives, lifting weights, staying strong, have aged like fine wines, your wife and my wife, Sia. Larry, have you bought Sia's wife's book? Because I have, and I'm reading it to my kids every night, and they're getting smarter day by day. Thank you for that, Sia.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the endorsement. Yes, of course. 2 children's books. If anybody wants more information on that, let me know. They are actually great books. All right, we've got a great. By the way, Larry didn't respond. I don't think he's purchased.
No, I don't think Larry's.
It's on my list.
Like, please don't actually go to me. Please don't go to me. All right, no problem there at all. Okay, let's go to a SportsLine pick. Let's go to the NHL playoffs. Let's go to Oilers money line against the Dallas Stars. This is -132. I think this was put up on SportsLine by none other than red hot Jeff Hockman, and I think the number was even better before. So the juice closing line certainly going sort of his direction. We're going to take the Oilers money line against the very formidable Dallas Stars. This one's at 8:30 tonight. Of course, Dallas leading this series 2-1. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, thanks for the happy birthdays for Aaron Bailey. Absolutely love that. Hit the like button if you haven't already. If not for us, for Aaron. If you want to make that hockey bet, or if you want to make the bets you're about to hear from Tim Doyle, go to BetMGM. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've teased it quite enough. Tim Doyle has a couple of very interesting plays, and we're going to hear about them right after this message from our partners.
The Champions League final. This is as big as it gets. The kings of the Champions League. Dortmund are into the final.
Ain't gonna stop me now. This is the final round.
All his dreams coming true.
Dortmund versus Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League final on CBS and streaming live on Paramount+.
Dustin Wiles, speaking of hockey, he says, shout out to Griffey Bets. He was on fire yesterday. Absolutely love to see that. He's certainly part of this SportsLine family and absolutely crushes it with the NHL content. All right, Tim. By the way, the only Bueller I know is Ferris. I just want to throw that out there. You've got a pick in the NBA. You kind of teased it earlier. So did Mike. So did Larry. So did myself. And then you've got a doubleheader parlay, which I think might be the first in early edge history. You have the floor, my friend.
Yeah, so hats off to the Beulah twins. I just looked them up. It's actually Katie and Jenna. I had a crush on both of them when I was 13 years old. So problem was 13 years old, guys, was 28 years ago. It's just like Marty McFly going back to the era that he went back to would be like now us going back to 1995. So it's a scary thought when you think of it like that. Yes, I like the Timberwolves at home. I don't lay 4.5, 4, whatever they are, because I have 3 children, and when I put them to bed, I just want to win the game. Like, I'll lay the -190, because if they win by 1, 2, 3, or even 4, which is a push, it just puts me in a bad mood. So I've learned to play it on the money line. If you don't want to play it straight, throw it in a parlay. Hats off to Karl Anthony Towns. Let's give him his flowers. He did not shoot 1,500 shots, probably shot about 450, but he lied about his practicing just to make a point that he is getting enough shots. He shot 0 threes in the first half. And I actually am not the biggest Karl Anthony Towns fan because he's 7 foot. He wants to rifle threes, but got to give him his flowers. He won the game for them, and he made some enormous shots. And I love to see athletes battle adversity and then come out on the other side. So it was awesome to see. I think this is a lay-down game for Dallas, very similar to what Denver did in game number 6 when they went to Minnesota and lost by 1,000. So give me the Timberwolves here on the money line. Now, let's go over to baseball. I love baseball. My dad's a huge baseball fan. He's 85 years old. He bets somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 on season totals. And then he tells me about every game. You see the Guardians game yesterday? No, I didn't see the freaking Guardians game. I live in Chicago, but he has been hot with the Guardians this year. Double headers, there's been 10 of them. 10, like Billy Bob. only 2 of them have been sweeps. So what does that mean? 80% of doubleheaders this season have ended in splits. I got a split I love. Okay, listen to me here. Tigers game number 1. You got Skubal on the mound, okay? Lefty was not great last out, but McClure loves him. McClure is Facebook friends with him. He's been telling me about this kid for years. His line in the game went from minus 125 to minus 150. Use him in game 1, okay? And then we have the LSU gymnast, Livy something. Her boyfriend's a stud. Skis. Got kind of the slimy little mustache. The guy's electrifying on the mound. He's must-see TV. So 80% of the time, it works every time, the split here in the doubleheader. And by the way, much better pitcher. And you got to get in now because what's going to happen is when the Tigers win game 1, Skis is going to go from probably like minus 185. So you're not going to get the value on this parlay. So you have to kind of bet it in the future because if the Tigers win game 1, I don't think he's going to go to minus 200, but I think he'll go to minus 175 or so. So that is and you got early action, which I know Sia loves. Sia's such a sick individual. He's betting first 5 innings. He can't even stick out the entire game. Why? Because he has a wife and 2 kids. And it's so hard to get that 3-hour commitment from her, isn't it, Sia? So you bet the first 5, at least you know you get that hour and 20 minutes of action. So that's my doubleheader. And I may just parlay the whole thing all together to get really weird.
First of all, I don't hate this this money line parlay that you've strung together, especially with those 2 pitchers on the mound. And what I also don't hate is the Varsity Blues reference. You also Marty McFly, a Back to the Future reference. We mentioned Ferris Bueller. We're just hitting all the right notes today. So love the play. By the way, Stephen Mack, happy birthday to you also on Memorial Day, and congratulations for being a grandpa in about 8 months. Grandpa, that was your word. I haven't said grandpa in about my entire life, I think. All right. Speaking of first 5s, Tim Doyle, very professional transition. I'm going to the Rangers. Listen, Dane Dunning is on the mound for the Rangers. I don't love that, okay? But what I really don't love is Ryan Nelson. I've seen him pitch enough this year, and granted, the last game he pitched, he came in after 3 outs, and he did pretty well against the Dodgers through, I believe, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks. It wasn't great, but at least he limited the runs. He didn't allow any runs. But listen, I'm not buying that because all the games prior to that, he's been pretty awful. So I'm fading Ryan Nelson with this Rangers first 5 money line. Listen, the Texas bats could be a little bit warmer. Dane Dunning could be a little bit better. But again, just like Kyle Gibson yesterday, which albeit obviously that was the wrong fade. But listen, Ryan Nelson's a different caliber of bad, in my opinion. So I absolutely love fading him. And as far as the other side of the ball, Dane Dunning, at least he's not a lefty. I mean, this Arizona Diamondback squad has really started to regress with the hitting. They were really never good against righties, always very good against lefties. But we got a righty on the mound here. So I do think we have Texas in a pretty good spot here at home. This is minus 135 at BetMGM. That was the best number I found. I believe at FanDuel and DraftKings, it's somewhere between minus 140 and minus 145. I don't think this juice is going to get out of control. So if you want to wait, this game starts at 2:30. If you want to wait and see if you're at a different book, if you're not at BetMGM for some reason, and you want to wait to see if this line comes down just a little bit, I think it's more likely to come down a few cents than it is to go up a few cents. So it's just something to keep in mind. But again, give me the Rangers first 5 money line at minus 135. All right, Larry, we've covered a lot. And you're going to cover a lot more because I said cover because you have an Ober pick, but you also have a pick on the Cubs, which is interesting because in the chat, there was a couple, it might've been Rick Funcannon, maybe a couple of others who I believed liked the Cubs today. So let's start with the Cubs. Do you like them?
I love them. I love Shota Imanaga. How can you not? They've won 8 of his 9 starts. He's given up 5 earned runs this season, and 2 of them he probably shouldn't have given up. They put him out there for the 8th inning. He'd already been brilliant in 7 innings against the Padres. He had almost 100 pitches. They put him out there. Profar hit a home run. That's 2 of his 5 earned runs. He has such a unique release point. His fastball, it just doesn't act the way others do, and he's blowing people away, even though he's only throwing 93, 94 miles an hour. And the Brewers are in their worst split against lefties. Their OPS about 660 against lefties. The Cubs got 5 in the 10th last night. I think they'll carry that over and win today behind Imanaga, who's just awesome to watch, a 30-year-old rookie who's absolutely carving up the majors. And then a little bit later on, Bailey Ober under 5.5 Ks against the Royals. I know Mikey likes to talk about how the Royals are a much worse offense on the road. Totally true, but they don't strike out a lot. second fewest strikeouts in all of baseball, second fewest against right-handed pitching. And Ober has really, really struggled against the Royals. He got lit up early this season, only lasted 1 1/3, but just career, they have a 1074 OPS going up against Bailey Ober. I think he goes about 5. I think he gets about 5 Ks, 4 or 5 Ks, but 6 is too much. Let's go under 5.5.
All right, we've got our Ober under out of the way. Mike, let me ask you something about the Royals, because I know there was somebody in the chat who mentioned maybe taking the Royals on the road. And look, this question isn't necessarily affiliated with Larry's bet, but I thought if I read it correctly, I thought you might have mentioned that the splits with the Royals on the road versus at home in terms of their hitting or in terms of their offense is pretty stark. Can you just verify that I read that correctly? Is that the case?
Yeah, definitely massive contrast. The biggest in the league by a considerable margin. So at home, in terms of weighted on base average, they've been the number 3 offense in Major League Baseball. On the road, they have been 28th out of 30 teams. It's been a really, really strong difference. Having said that, though, Larry, I like Larry's play on the under on the strikeouts. They do not strike out a lot. They're still putting the baseball in play. Just haven't had a ton of success, on the road for whatever reason so far this season.
By the way, like when I see those contrasts, when I see those splits, sometimes I chalk it up to, I mean, that's a very stark contrast, but sometimes if it's not as stark, I'm just like, well, that's just kind of like random variance. Like in the Kansas City Royals case, with that split so sort of dramatic, do you attribute that to anything in particular?
Some of it is you do have to look at park factor. You do have to look at scheduling and see some of the opponents. But some of it is just a team like this, especially a team that was so bad last year. They found a lot of success at home and really kind of rally around some of that support. But when you have guys like that, some guys are just way more comfortable sleeping in their own bed at home. And some are way more comfortable on the road. That's why you see some teams perform better on the road. The New York Yankees, for one, they typically, believe it or not, they've been performing better on the road than at home. Some of that could be attributed to just the pressure overall of performing in that environment. So it's always interesting to see when splits like that arise. Most of the time it's negligible. Throw it out. It doesn't really matter. But when you're talking about top 3 versus bottom 3, I think you have to pay attention until something changes.
Fair enough. All right. And by the way, as far as my Rangers bet CID, I know you and others had comments. If the juice is prohibitive up to opening pitch, if it's like minus 140 or minus 150, you can take the minus half a run. I try to stay away from that. And that's why I was comfortable at BetMGM taking the minus 135. But if it is minus 140 or minus 150, I don't mind laying the half a run and just getting that to like a plus 100. I wouldn't pay minus 110 if you're laying the half a run on the first 5 run line. But if you're getting it at like even money or better, I think you're okay to do that, because I do think Ryan Nelson's going to get lit up a little bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here. Tim Doyle, he's on the Timberwolves tomorrow, minus 190. If you don't want to pay that hefty price, throw it in a money line parlay, just like he recommended. And we've got a double header parlay at plus 187. We flip it from minus 190 to basically plus 190. Tigers, game 1 money line, and Pirates, game 2 money line today. I've got the Rangers first 5 money line at 2:30 this afternoon, minus 135. Mike McClure, Astros money line. That's going to cap the night at 9:40 Eastern Standard Time tonight. That's even money. Astros money line. Larry's on Cubs money line, minus 134. And Bailey over under 5.5 Ks. If that came out kind of sounding weird, it's really Bailey Ober's under 5.5 Ks, minus 139. And SportsLine's pick, Oilers money line, minus 132. All right. Well, Big Cheesy says it all. He says, good luck today, fam. We had a great show. Love the story time from Tim Doyle. Love all the 80s and 90s, mostly 80s, movie references. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us today. By the way, for whoever thought it was going to be the RBC Canadian Open Early Wedge tonight, that was yesterday. So it's in your feed already. Check it out. We do it every single Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. My updated article will be out later this afternoon as well. You can see EC, Patrick McDonald, and all the other CBS Sports guys, all their picks and analysis on SportsLine. On behalf of Tim Doyle, Mike McClure, Larry Hartstein, a.k.a. The Maestro, and Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, I am the Counselor of Cash. This is the Early Edge. Have a great day, everybody. We rest our case.